Hey guys, today we have a video by Flat Earther D Marble. I'm here to debunk it. Let's get started.
Alright, so I was recently made aware of more globe propaganda. Thank you, Kia. Let's go ahead and get into this thing real quick.
Imagine if you could build a tunnel that sliced through the center of the Earth.
Pause. Just want to take a minute to remind you that every time you've seen the Earth as a globe, it's always been CGI, composite images, or Photoshop. And NASA even admits it. See?
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
I mean, seriously, if you just Google pictures of Earth from space, you're going to see all kinds of pictures where the water's different colors, the continents are different sizes, and different textures and all that. You're going to see pictures where the contrast is adjusted randomly, where they repeat the same pictures with different shading. It's ridiculous. All paid for by the taxpayers to give you CGI bullcrap. Let's move on.
Alright, let me explain this in a way that your flat brain may understand. Of course these pictures look different. It is how they are taken that make them look different. These pictures were taken at a different time, with different shadowing and different angles. Have you ever done that with a camera of your own? Probably not. These pictures look different because of these three simple things. Also, when he says they are photoshopped, he means the pictures taken by satellites are stitched together, because these satellites cannot get far enough from the Earth to take an entire picture.
Suddenly,
Pause. Aw, isn't that cute? They put in a little cartoon satellite. You know, because there's supposed to be all these thousands of satellites orbiting around the Earth. But oddly enough, during the NASA live feed, you never see a single satellite. Weird.
You never see a satellite due to the spacing and the size of these satellites. You flat earthers seem to forget the massive size of the Earth when trying to debunk it. So while NASA is live streaming the Earth, of course you won't see any of these space trash or satellites. A lot of these satellites that are up there are extremely small and hard to see. So with the light of the Earth and the spacing of these satellites, you just won't see them.
Also, while gazing upon this brilliant work of animation, you're probably wondering where the moon is. And why would you be wondering that? Well, once upon a time, NASA released what they called an epic video of the moon transiting Earth. But while watching this absolute bullcrap, one would come to the conclusion that if the moon were transiting that close to Earth, that the view of the Earth from the moon should look something like this. But instead, we get inconsistent photos like these. Now let's take the one from the middle here with the lunar lander. And what we have here seems to be a little more deception. This is supposed to be a legit picture of the lunar lander with an astronaut descending the ladder onto the lunar surface. Now let's see what happens when you highlight this picture, as has been demonstrated in Photoshop. But you don't really need Photoshop to do this. Check this out. Highlight the whole thing. Oh, what's going on here? Look at that. Looks like some layering's been going on. Got the astronaut, lunar lander, the moon's surface. And then in the background, you see a little blue here. You see these straight lines. And oh man, there seems to be this little box around the Earth. What's that about? Looks like more NASA fakery. And they believe it.
It's hard to tell if this picture is real or fake based on the fact that you didn't leave a link as to where you got it. There are a lot of fake and photoshopped pictures of the Earth from the moon on the internet, and due to that fact you will get pictures like that. And if they were trying to deceive us with some stuff like that, it is very simple for them to just remove hints of Photoshop from their pictures. If you want real pictures, and I know they're real pictures, go to the website of NASA, nasa.gov, and look at the pictures on the website.
Anyway,
we travel to opposite ends of our planet with ease.
Pause. More cartoons to deceive you. Did you know that the deepest hole ever dug only went about 8 miles down? That means that this cartoon depicting the crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core of the ball Earth is all speculation. Look up Kola Super Deep Borehole for more information on that.
So, you are taking a metaphorical question to try and debunk the globe Earth? Really? This is a cartoon used to demonstrate. The question is metaphorical to help explain a point, and no, it's not speculation. Have you done even the simplest of research? We know how the inside of the Earth looks because when we have an earthquake, we use the waves from this earthquake that bounce around inside of our planet, changing direction and speed based on the material that they go through, and use this information to map out the inside of the planet. It's very simple if you did any research.
Simply hop into the tunnel and let gravity whisk you towards your destination.
Ah, yes. And no piece of globe propaganda will be complete without the usage of gravity. For years, it's brainwashed people into believing that anyone saying that they walk around on a flat stationary plane at a 90-degree angle is absolutely insane, and that it's perfectly normal to believe that people are able to walk around living their lives while sticking to the bottom of a spinning ball that has water bending around it. You see, hundreds of years ago, a Jesuit by the name of Isaac Newton was resting underneath a tree. While resting, an apple fell onto his head. Later, he concluded that the apple fell because of a magical force called gravity that's supposedly pulling everything towards the center of mass on this giant ball Earth that we all supposedly live on. Also, he totally disregarded the fact that there were other apples that were still attached to the tree, but yeah, let's just go with it.
Clearly, since you don't understand how gravity works, I'll have to explain it to you. Gravity is a force that all bodies with mass have. Gravity is what causes bodies to attract to each other. It's why we revolve around the sun, and it's why the moon revolves around us. Without it, these objects wouldn't even be here. I want you flat earthers to bring me an explanation of why everything is held together without gravity. Also, bottom is all relative. The bottom is down, and down is towards the center of mass. So yes, it is very logical to think that someone can stand on a globe Earth, no matter where they are. The fact that the apple fell was evidence of gravity, not the fact that there were apples. The fact of the apple falling wasn't what got him thinking anyways. It was the fact that they fell perpendicular to the ground. Anyways, what would be your explanation of this apple fell but not the others? I challenge you to find a reasonable explanation to gravity, and then maybe we can have a discussion about it.
Now, if old Isaac were being honest, he might have done his due diligence and tested the apple on something a little more dense than air. Maybe, just maybe, something like water. Apple. Water. Oh, look at that. The apple's floating. Weird.
Okay, since you don't understand density either, I'll explain that. The density of an object is how much of an object there is per unit volume. And when you have an object and a liquid, and this object is more dense than the liquid, it floats. When you place this object into water, it displaces the water up to a certain point. But guess what? The water pushes back. If this object is less dense than the water, it displaces much of the water that it can before molecules in the water start to push back. And if there is more space between the molecules of the object, making it less dense, the object will float.
Yeah, that's because the apple is less dense than the water. Okay, so that allows the apple to float in the water, almost as if gravity isn't really what's pulling things down. I think it's just because the apple weighed more than the oxygen that was around it, as demonstrated here. So if something that is more dense than the water and the apple, like say a rock here, the rock falls. Not so much that gravity's pulling it down, it's because it's more dense than the water and the apple. That's why it fell. Let's get back to the cartoon.
I cannot be bothered to give the long version of why this works, so here's the short version. Gravity is a weak force, so something simple as buoyancy and a magnet can overcome this force.
Initially, gravity's pull would accelerate you down toward the Earth's center.
Whoa, wait a minute. See anything familiar? Here, let me help you with that. Compass and square Freemason symbology, hidden right there in plain sight.
Yep, what a lot of people don't know is that the world's oldest secret society is closely tied to these so-called spacefaring agencies, and that everyone that you believe or have been told has gone to the moon or space was a Freemason. There's Michael Collins, there's Neil Armstrong, Jim Irwin, and of course there's Buzz Aldrin. Old Buzz is still out there shilling it up.
You conspiracy nuts tend to believe multiple theories, don't you?
And now it's time for a brief exercise in common sense. Alright, so what you're seeing here is Neil Armstrong apparently taking the first steps on the lunar surface. First man on the moon, right? But wait a minute. Who set up the camera? Alright, so logic dictates that the cameraman was the first person to step foot on the moon.
Or the camera is attached to the outside of the lander and it was recording just for this instance. Wow, such an easy explanation. I don't figure you guys will understand it though.
And here's another common sense check for people who can analyze body language. These guys just won a hockey game. Look at how excited they are. These women just won the gold medal for volleyball in the Olympics. See how happy they are? These guys just won the NBA championship. Again, See all the smiles? And these guys just got back from the moon. Mankind's greatest accomplishment? I don't think so. These are the faces of men who are out keeping a secret, lying to the public because they didn't go to the moon. They're Freemasons and they have to keep secrets because they're part of a club. And as George Carlin says,
Okay, now you are just arguing bullshit topics. You are right. They aren't smiling. But did you actually read the words press conference? It's a press conference. Of course they aren't going to be the most excited individuals on the planet. Also, just won their sporting events. These men landed back on Earth July 24th, 1969. The press conference wasn't until September 16th of 1969. So yeah, I'm sure they were a little bit more excited when they first got back, but it had been just shy of a month after, so they had plenty of time to get any excitement out.
and now back to the cartoon.
But as you pass through the core, gravity would start to work against you. Here's how long it would take you to reach the other side. First, you must create a vacuum by removing all air out of the tunnel. Otherwise, friction in the form of air resistance will slow you down too much, and air pressure near the center would crush you to death. Next, you'll need to wear a spacesuit, which will protect you against the intense heat at the core.
That's not true. They don't test spacesuits for extreme temperatures. You will come out the other side a pile of ashes.
Yes, they do. Metal in direct sunlight can get up to 260 degrees Celsius, and metal in the shade can get as low as negative 100 degrees Celsius. They have to test these spacesuits for extreme heat and cold.
And supply you oxygen to breathe. After removing the air and suiting up, you could free fall through the vacuum tunnel. Assuming the force of gravity is constant throughout your trip, it would take about 19 minutes for you to reach Earth's center. You would be blazing along at 25,000 miles per hour, or 32 times the speed of sound. But you would feel completely weightless, just like an astronaut in space. As you pass through the core,
10,800 degrees Fahrenheit. I want to see a video where they hit one of these spacesuits with a flamethrower and the spacesuit is all right on the other side. Because that's what they're selling you right now. Okay?
your speed would slow down.
Oh my goodness. So now he's falling up because gravity should be pulling him back towards the center of mass. He's passed through the core. Now he's falling up. You know what? Let me go ahead and fix the rest of this video to accurately depict what they're telling you is real.
But your momentum would continue to propel you upward against gravity. By the time you reach the other end, you would be back to a walking pace.
Yep, back to a walking pace. Upside down on a spinning ball.
Clearly you can't hear very well. It's called momentum, from traveling 25,000 miles per hour. And again, this is a metaphorical question. Once again, upside down is relative to the center of the mass. So no, you wouldn't be upside down when you came out of this tunnel.
And this is what people really believe.
In total, the trip would take about 38 minutes. That certainly beats a 40-hour plane ride from Santiago, Chile to Xi'an, China.
That is the end of this video. If you have any future suggestions, please let me know, and peace.